Squid Game. This show was originally something that had me in a chokehold back in early 2021. After having a very strong season 1 but overall lackluster finale in my opinion, I was skeptical to see where they could really go for a quote-unquote sequel. And in all honesty, it wasn't until after that second season where I became genuinely infatuated with this show. The concept of the show is pretty simple. People who are in debt have to participate in these games that were probably played by these people as children. Of course, all of the players willingly play, and as they progress through the games, they eventually find out that there has to be one winner, and that winner gets the cash prize. It sounds pretty straightforward and honestly a great opportunity for these people to get out of debt. But they forget to tell you that if you fail to complete any of these games, the result 99% of the time leads into your inevitable death. This concept was super simple and easy to get behind, which is why I feel like season 1 exploded in popularity the way it did. And what makes this show a lot more interesting isn't just the concept or the unique play style that the players just adjust to, it's the nature of the very players they are going up against. Humans, depending on the opportunity, are obligated to do whatever it takes to get them out of the hole they dug for themselves, especially if the opportunity is money and for them to get themselves out of debt. And of course, this obsession with greed leads into a lot of players doing things they never thought they would have had to do because they believe this is the only way to escape and win the games. During this show, we see how a lot of characters can overall change for the worse or for the better. The two prime examples of this come from our two main characters, that being Gi-hun and Sang-woo. Gi-hun at the start is a borderline deadbeat broke bum who uses any little money he has for gambling. Quite literally, his mother, who's withering away due to her age, has to do everything for him still because anything he seems to touch turns into utter chaos and destruction. Truth be told, the people in Gi-hun's life would probably be better off if he was just gone from their lives. But we see during Squid Game how evil people truly can be, which leads into Gi-hun trying to not push morally in the wrong direction. But of course, as the games go on, the more stressful situations Gi-hun is put in, and unfortunately he's forced to do the wrong thing. Like when in the marble game, he has to legit lie to the old man in order to win, who throughout the entire season he was helping out. This was probably Gi-hun's lowest point by this moment of the show at least, and this leads into him debating on if he truly wants to lose himself while he's in here. As this contemplation sits in Gi-hun's mind, Sang-woo has already accepted that he can't reach any lower and must do whatever it takes to win. Whether it's killing his own friends, lying to people who trust him with their own life, Sang-woo represents what greed can do to a human. Sang-woo represents what a human can be like after being fully consumed by greed. And we come to eventually find out with the Frontman that this was kind of the whole point of the games. The Frontman does this for entertainment and bets on humans the same way they bet on horses. Sang-woo represents everything that the Frontman expected from humans, while Gi-hun had a different case. Even when winning the games, he lost himself as he had to put down the closest friend he had that didn't completely give up on him. And it just puts Gi-hun in an unsatisfied state. Of course, Gi-hun beats one of the old higher-ups, and Gi-hun is not satisfied with this victory, and for some reason bro attained Super Saiyan God. And after this, he decides to go in for seconds. Gi-hun originally coming back into the games was something so goofy to a lot of viewers in concept as, why on earth would you even attempt to go back to this established and isolated facility that apparently hasn't been discovered for decades? But of course, we have the cops to handle that. Which, by the way, these cops just might be worse than the Miami Metro from Dexter besides this guy. We'd see Gi-hun trying to guide everyone out of the first games without casualties, but of course, due to other people and their personal situations, there are some people who believe Gi-hun and decide to cancel the games, while the others want to continue them in order to make a little bit more money. And at first it's like, alright guys, we're gonna play one more game, trust me, after this we'll go home. And then they see the prize money stack up and see how much they would get if they split it, and then they're like, yeah man, let's just do one more game. One more game, one more game, one more game. Of course, during this season, we have characters like Thanos, Crypto Dude, and Jun-hee be introduced here. I just realized it's Jun-hee, not Jun-hee. My bad. Anyway, all of these characters represent at least a different type of humanity. Thanos is someone who is looked at as genuinely evil, but I would mainly say the biggest victim of his is himself, due to the abuse of drugs. This quite literally stopped him from being aware of his actions and killing his own teammate without even being aware of it. Mind you, Thanos was the same guy who the entire time was telling his teammates, hey, let's stick together. And Namgyu is someone who is no better, ending up spiraling even worse than Thanos due to living longer in the games. Their very addiction is the result of their own inevitable demise, which in all honesty is pretty tragic. Then we have Jun-hee, who entirely just wants to do better for her baby and herself, while Crypto Goat, like Sang-woo, Woo was taking any chance he could to get closer and closer to the money, even putting his ex and his potential baby at risk. As things are building up for the other guys, we have Gi-hun eventually attempting to overthrow the frontman, who he didn't even realize was participating in the games alongside with him the entire time. I found it super unique this time around that we basically were waiting for a reveal to happen rather than being put in Gi-hun's shoes like in last season. Gi-hun, as well, similarly to what happened in season 1, was constantly being tested by player 1, which obviously is supposed to contrast and reflect on what happened to Gi-hun back in the first season. And of course, the scenes with Gi-hun and player 1 in season 2 are supposed to call back to the scenes with Gi-hun and the old man back in season 1. Gi-hun, as well, similarly to what happened in season 1, was constantly being tested by player 1. The frontman eventually stops Gi-hun's raid, killing his best friend right in front of him. Gi-hun is then forced to continue the games, and Jun-hee has the baby but can't go on due to her foot being injured, and due to her wanting nothing to do with her ex, Crypto Dude just pretty much watches this unfold. And now's a good time to talk about player 333. Now, player 333 is someone who a lot of people hate for all the right reasons, but he, like Song-woo, represents what the frontman was betting on, which makes all the more sense as to why he'd be the final person Gi-hun had to face before facing the final challenge. You see, this ending to me for Gi-hun feels so full circle due to the fact that this man from the beginning represented the exact type of person the frontman expected to win, or at least the average rat that the frontman wanted to spectate and watch. Gi-hun from episode 1 was a selfish and ultimately bad person, who would choose what's better for himself over anything else. And just as victory is once his to achieve again, unlike last time where he lost himself and had to eliminate his best friend, he makes the ultimate decision in eliminating himself and making the frontman lose. There may have been many winners during the years of Squid Game, but for the first time ever, a player actually managed to beat the games. Not only winning the games twice, but actually breaking the system. The quote, "We are not horses, we are humans," calls back to episode 1 when Gi-hun won himself some money after betting on some horses. This low-life bum who was just betting his money on horses trying to make a quick buck ends up as not only one of the richest people alive, and due to this, we even see the damn front man changing and losing himself, giving the baby to his brother so that the baby has a secure life, and he also visits Gi-hun's daughter, which is just, oh my god, this is cinema, bro, I'm about to cry. Now that I overviewed Gi-hun's arc and what this series is about, allow me to bring on my GOAT Eternal Flame to help me spread the gospel.
With my boy Tyler and preaching on why the character work was done amazingly, I want to talk more about the general theme of the Squid Games itself and why it had to end the way it did. When I see people talk about the ending, I mainly just see people being angry, mad that the games didn't fail, that the VIPs got away scot-free, that Gi-hun's sacrifice was for nothing and he failed to stop the games. Everyone watching this show wanted it to end in a way where the VIPs who are watching the players suffer for their own entertainment ultimately lose. But that was just never going to happen. Mainly because that just was never what Squid Games was about, and ultimately, a big ending where the games just ended would have betrayed the very show itself. This is most well shown in the end of season 1, when In-ho and Gi-hun talked, where in this discussion, In-ho told Gi-hun exactly what was needed to stop the Squid Games. It wasn't going to be some big explosion, some execution of the people in charge. No, it fundamentally required people to change. So long as people remained the same, the Squid Games would continue. Gi-hun at first tried to deny this claim, trying to start a violent revolution and sacrifice his own people just to fail miserably. This is because even if Gi-hun succeeded, even if they killed all the people in charge, it wouldn't have changed the world. The issue of an ending like that, one where the VIPs pay the price, ultimately would undersell what the show was trying to go for, is that they're targeting the symptoms rather than what caused those very symptoms. If Gi-hun succeeded, it would have just led to people who were similar to the VIPs figuring out smarter ways to do the Squid Games. It ultimately wouldn't have changed anything. The only thing it would have changed was making them smarter. But that's why, at least to me, the ending of Squid Games is so impactful, because it wasn't made to be this big show, this big battle where police got involved and everyone died in a blaze of glory. It was because one man chose to not be greedy, to not give in to the very emotions that every other player of Squid Games gave into, leading to a better end for every single person involved, all because one man sacrificed himself. After all, the end of the show, every single character has a pretty satisfactory ending for themselves. The path for a good life has been set up for all of them. And this in particular is most shown to In-ho himself. At the end, In-ho decides to give Gi-hun's daughter all of Gi-hun's belongings and money, as well as give his brother, the only person he could trust, the baby that Gi-hun sacrificed himself to protect. While Squid Games never confirms if In-ho actually left the games or not, the interesting part to me is that the thought of it is even possible. In-ho was shaken, his belief was broken, which is ultimately what this season was about, proving people can change, people can be better and put others above themselves. Hell, even the flat, comically evil VIPs at the end feed into this theme, where they didn't clap, but were simply left stunned. This is all because the main theme of Squid Games was not about an explosive finale where the people in charge end up dying, because that will never work. That will not change the fact that another Squid Games will happen. The only way to change it is to change the mind of people, which Gi-hun's death does at the end. Gi-hun's death was made to be a seed, to shake the VIPs who had set this all up, that humans aren't horses.
Oh my god, this is son of a bro, I'm about to cry!